Thank you all so much for being here. My name is Cody Wiegers, and I'm here on behalf of the Missouri Bar Leadership Academy. We've paired with the American Bar Association to present to students around the state about why they should pursue a career in the law. We've got an excellent panel here for you today. I'm going to pose them some questions and hopefully answer any questions you may have. For our panelists, please describe your current job in detail, including your general practice area, your specific practice area, and a description of what your day-to-day tasks entail.
Are we going in order?
I
shouldn't have sat right next to the person leading. Hello, everyone. How are you? Good. A lively bunch in here. It's nice to be here. My name is Krista Moss. I work for the United States Attorney's Office. That means Department of Justice. I get to represent the United States in civil cases, not criminal cases. I don't prosecute criminal cases. So think car accidents with Postal Service or medical malpractice with the VA. My most recent case, I had some ICE agents who wrongfully detained a U.S. citizen. So I get a variety of different types of things that I get to do. I started my career in the city attorney's office for Kansas City, Missouri, and I started my career in the city attorney's office for Kansas City, Missouri. After that, I worked in a firm for a couple years, then I clerked for a federal judge, and now I get to work for the United States. My day-to-day is a lot of writing, research and writing and arguing motions in front of the judge. So it's really, really exciting because I get to say every day that I represent the United States. It's a pretty cool thing to do.
Good afternoon. I appreciate being here. First off, I'm not showing you any disrespect because I don't have a tie on. That's because I'm an old man of 72 and I'm retired, so I can be more comfortable than my peers that are here. I was back in my work world, practiced law for 24 years up in Northwest Missouri, and I've been the circuit judge in the Fourth Circuit for a 21-year period. I retired about 2 years ago. While I was circuit judge, I tried cases in 16 of the counties of various circuits in the state. The state's divided into small groups they call circuits, both civil and criminal cases. Now I'm doing some side gigs for the courts.
Hi everyone. My name is Lillian Miller. I work currently for the courthouse. I work for Judge Long out of Independence, and I practiced before I did that, which is not kind of common. Most people go into clerking right out of law school. I didn't know that what I was doing I was doing a lot of civil work, and I decided I didn't really like it, and I didn't know what to do. So I went to work for a judge, and so my job, a lot of it is doing research, drafting orders, but I also get to watch like everything that's going on in the courtroom. So I sit next to the judge the whole time, and I get to see a little bit of all sorts of cases. We have domestic cases, we have criminal cases, we have some civil landlord-tenant cases. So we have a little bit of everything, and it gives me that experience so I can figure out what I like best.
Hey, my name is Blake Scher. I'm a criminal prosecuting attorney for Platte County, just up north. I prosecute crimes against children from victims of a child's been sexually abused or violently abused. I prosecute the person who harms children. So I get immense value in my job because I get to stand up for kids and make sure that whoever hurts them is held accountable. I've been a prosecutor for about 10 years now. Our county up in Platte's a little bit smaller, so I get to do a little bit of everything. So I've done stuff from traffic up to quadruple homicides. So a little bit of everything. Yep, that's my story.
Ms. Moss, did you always want to be an attorney?
I did not always want to be an attorney. I thought I was going to go into politics, but as you'll know, politics is a little crazy. So I loved speaking, I loved reading and writing, and I loved government and history. So I decided the best career that could make a lot of money and use those skill sets is law school. But I didn't realize that I was going to love it as much as I do, how rewarding it is to be able to help people. And so I did not always know that I wanted to go to law school.
And when did you make that decision that you wanted to be an attorney?
Probably my freshman or sophomore year of high school. I was invited to do like a mock trial competition, and my team, so there was always like the same case that every class did every single year, and the plaintiff side always won the case, and I was the first attorney that played the role that actually helped to win the defense case. And so my history teacher was like really impressed, and he's like, I've never had a class where the defense side won. You should think about going to law school. And that's what kind of started getting me thinking about that.
Judge, did you always want to be pursue a career in the legal field?
Really, for quite a few years, it was tied between being an engineer or going into the legal field. Then I took high school chemistry, and then there was only one contender after that. I didn't think I'd make it out of high school if I take another chemistry class, so legal career was as far as I landed.
Lillian?
Yeah, I came from a family of teachers. My mom was a teacher, my grandma was a teacher, my aunt was a teacher. And I grew up going to school with them. And I was like, I don't want to be in school any longer than I have to. And my aunt ended up going to law school when I was little, and I got to watch her go through law school. And so I was like, that's what I want to do. And yeah.
Yeah, I never wanted to be a lawyer. I honestly went to law school because I had nothing else going on. I was on the debate team in high school, always liked kind of discussions and arguments and giving out my opinion. And it just sort of fell into my lap, and here I am as a lawyer.
And Blake, can
Yes.
you tell the students what your career path has been like?
Yeah, so I've only ever been a prosecutor. So I watched a lot of Law and Order growing up, a lot of like crime TV shows, all that kind of stuff. I was like, that's what I want to do. So most lawyers don't get to go to the courtroom anymore. They don't get to argue. They don't get to do trials. I'm pretty old-fashioned, so I get to be in the courtroom every single day, which is phenomenal. Like standing on stage, talking to people, being able to argue a point, the coolest thing in the world. And so I'm very fortunate that I get to be in the courtroom. It's the only thing I've ever done. It's the only thing I ever really want to do. And so that's all I've done.
And then Liam, what's your career path been like?
Well, I went to a high school that kind of focused in pre-law, and so we had like all of our finals and stuff. We had, the written test, and then we'd have a trial or like a mock trial on something that we had learned that semester. And so I did that, and then I went to undergrad, and all my friends who wanted to go into law school were political science majors, and I was like, okay, I'll be a political science major. But you really can be any major, and I wish that someone had shown me that beforehand, because I did not like political science as much as I probably should have, being a political science major. But so I went to undergrad, and then from undergrad I went straight into law school. And yeah, here I am.
Same question.
Same question. When I got out of law school, I moved to Maryville, Northwest Missouri State University to teach business law. I did that for a couple of years. And then I became a general practitioner in that area. It's a rural area, so my practice probably took me like a 100-mile circumference from the community where I was at. And like I mentioned earlier, I did that for 24 years. I did my best to, Maryville isn't a terribly wealthy area, to provide services to the people in the community as best I could, but hold my fees down as best I could so that the legal profession and services were available to those folks. During that time, I did quite a bit of juvenile work, represented the juvenile office, and that's what got me interested in running for circuit judge. 2000, I was elected circuit judge and finished up my career there. So it was, when I went to law school, I thought I was going to be a corporal lawyer. Thank God that I wasn't. dealing with people and being able to provide people help and functioning in the real world is so much more was so much more satisfying to me. Everybody's different, but I got a lot of pleasure out of having people come in that had problems to be able to help them, sort those out.
Ms. Moss, I'm curious, it sounds like earlier you were describing your career path, and it sounds like you've moved offices or jobs several times. Was the U.S. Attorney's Office always the goal, or tell us about what brought you there?
No, so I never have any plans. I never thought I was going to work for the United States. I never thought that I would want to have a career in the United States. For those of you that may not know, a United States Attorney's Office is one of the most prestigious things that you can do being an attorney, other than maybe being a judge. And so I did not think that I would be eligible to do that. Neither of my parents were lawyers. I didn't have like a background in that. I wasn't really thinking that it would be something I would be capable of doing. And my husband is also an attorney. Also, neither of his parents were attorneys. We both kind of fell into this and have worked really hard to get where we're at. And he had a really ambitious career path, and so we moved a lot for his job transitions. And all of the jobs that I got, I was not ever expecting to get. I think I don't like change, so I probably would have just like hunkered down in my first job and tried to work really hard to like stay doing that. But his moves forced me to be more ambitious about what I wanted to do and to find jobs that I wanted to excel in. And because I did all of those different jobs, it gave me the perfect opportunity to apply for the United States Attorney's Office. I had been in practice for about 8 years doing civil work, and I had clerked for a judge, and a lot of United States Attorney's offices look for people who had clerked before. So I didn't plan on it, but sometimes your path is unexpected, and if you just keep trusting the process and working really hard, like you'll get to excel in things that maybe you never thought you were capable of doing.
And since you've been licensed and practicing, what surprised you most about being an attorney?
The thing that probably surprises me the most is how much our legal system doesn't always follow our expectations. Sometimes you work really hard for a result and you don't always get that result. I think we have maybe this misconception that when you work really hard and you put a lot of effort into something, that there's a certain thing that's ethical and fair, and your amount of hard work might not always reach that point because there's a lot of other factors that impact that. The law sometimes can be complicated. It's not black and white. And so you as an attorney have to think outside the box to figure out how to reach things beyond just your hard work.
Judge, what surprised you?
I guess two things come to mind. I learned about myself. What I learned about myself was that I had a need to reach out and help people with problems that presented them. Sometimes they're complicated, sometimes they're fairly small, but in your community, and I look at like the various parts of Kansas City as small communities. You can look at it as a big city, but I look at Waldo as a small town. There's a lot of folks there that have needs. When you're part of that community, you can help those people with their needs to function and live better. You're making your place where you live a better place, and you get I get a lot of satisfaction out of that. Everybody has different personalities. The other thing that I learned about the practice of law, everybody talks about rich lawyers and the money and that aspect of it. The importance of what you do as an attorney is not directly related to how much money that you make. Some of the lowest paid people that we have in our system are public defenders, and quite honestly, the public defenders I've dealt with have all been exceedingly good lawyers. They're there because they have a passion to help people and to make the system work. They're in a position to, we hear about the Constitution. Every politician pulls a copy of the Constitution out of their pocket, and some have even read parts of it. But the public defenders are there when they deal with the Constitution. They're making sure that the protections that are available to all of us are protected. Somebody may be arrested, they may use part of the Constitution as a defense to create for themselves, and people will look at that saying, well, they're getting off on a technicality. When a person gets off on a technicality, that's also ensuring the rights that all the rest of us have, that we have those protections individually in our homes otherwise. So those folks in the system that don't get paid much money are some of the most important people as far as ensuring protections that we've been granted since the start of our country. There's lots of different avenues you can go with the practice of law. Whatever you enjoy, whatever your motivation are, but being able to help and protect the rights and keep living in an environment in which you have freedoms, that's definitely part of being a lawyer that ensures that to happen.
What surprised you?
How little time I spent in the courtroom. So before I started clerking, when I was practicing, I was expecting to, every motion I write, every time I want something done, I was going to be in the courtroom and I was going to be arguing this, and that rarely happens. A lot of times you do draft these things asking the court to do something for you, and you negotiate with the other side, but things get done outside of the courtroom way more often than they do in the courtroom, especially in civil work. Obviously not criminal stuff, please don't talk about it, but I spend a lot more of my days in the office with the same people every day and only talking to my clients in the opposing counsel than I did actually in court, making these arguments that I would prepare for in my head 100 times. So, yeah.
One thing that surprises me is how much your reputation matters. So who you are, how you present yourself, how you treat other people, that follows you your entire career as an attorney. And people remember the way you acted right when you were young, when you started out. It follows you. You get a reputation. And it surprises me how much it's personal, and the law and when we practice, it's based on who you are as a person. So if you're an honest, moral, hardworking person, you have a great career. If you're not, your reputation follows you. So the way you act, the way you present yourself, and the way you treat everyone, it is one of the biggest things that can impact your career. And to me, that was really, really surprising how much of it is personal and not professional.
And I'll jump in and answer this question myself. I think what surprised me is how collegial the legal career can be. I think the media does the American public a real disservice in legal shows and movies. And you think, growing up watching these shows and movies, that every case gets tried. And it's this clash of titans in a courtroom, and there's all of these aha moments, and that's, in my experience, just not the reality. Trials can be messy and they're difficult, and attorneys oftentimes have to work together just to get through them. And a shocking amount of our civil cases, at least every year, result in settlements outside of court because judges expect attorneys to be able to work together and be problem solvers. And so being able to have a good reputation and treat people well serves you so well when you're trying to act in that role as a problem solver. What are some myths about being an attorney that you think are important to dispel?
I think we've all kind of touched on it a little bit, but one, that you're in the courtroom all the time, that's not really a thing. Two, that if you're an attorney, you're automatically going to be rich. I think there's plenty of attorneys that aren't doing it for the money, or that just aren't making as much money as you would think, but not necessarily that they're not living comfortable. I think it's just not, you're not going to become a millionaire just because you became an attorney.
I think one of the myths I always had is that you have to have a certain background or come from a certain place to be a lawyer. I've always thought lawyers where people who went to like really good colleges and just really smart and affluent. It's just not the case at all. Anyone can be an attorney from any background at any time, and I think that's probably one of the myths that you still see today, even like in the movies and the TV. They only show a certain type of lawyer, and that's just not the truth.
What I've observed, and it ties in well with what was just said, the background for being an attorney, there is no prescribed, pre-law program that you should be in. What you need to do is get your mind to work. Be able to think analytically and pursue what you're interested in. If you're an art major, that creativity that flows from there is going to help you be a good lawyer, because if you're not creative when you're, either if you're preparing briefs and drawing papers in the office, or if you're standing in front of a jury, the more interesting but along with being solid, the arguments that you make are what advance your client's needs. So don't say, hey, I'm not a political science, I'm not interested in that, so I'm not going to go to law school. That's not the case. Pursue what you're interested in. Use your mind. Those of you that, and this is pretty trite, on the football team or in the weight room, well, use your mind. Get anything that can get you to think and read, interact quickly, and be as sharp as you can. That's all helpful to go to law school. So those are good backgrounds.
I think one myth is that all lawyers practice law, but there are lawyers in every single industry. In fact, there's an ongoing joke that lawyers are pervasive in every single industry. There are lawyers who are sports agents. They aren't practicing attorneys. There are lawyers who are teachers. There are lawyers in running businesses. My husband, for instance, is in the energy industry. He stopped practicing law like 3 years ago, but because of his background in the law, he's now making more money than lawyers doing similar things would. So I think that going to law school opens a lot of doors of opportunity for people. And sometimes people think, I don't want to go to law school because I don't really want to practice law. But lawyers, because of how they are trained, the way they think, their ambitions are utilized in every single industry. So if you do get a law degree, you can practice in a non-traditional way and have a very successful career.
Is there anything that you wish you had known when you began your legal career that you know now?
I can answer the opposite of that. My wife wishes she knew by being married to somebody in the law that person's going to be questioning everything she did. When you go to law school, the nature of the education is to, whatever is presented to you, be able to argue both sides of the issue. Whatever you hear, you're cynical, you look at it, okay, you told me that, now is that the truth, what's going on? That's probably enhanced some for being a judge on it. Drives her crazy. So if you have somebody special in your life, you're going to go to law school, tell them you're going to change during that time. The way you think's going to be different. Hopefully, you're going to be, much sharper in the way you think. But it's an evolutionary process you go through in those 3 years of law school. I think every person that does comes out better. But it's they tend to become more demanding and expect the information that comes to them to be precise and have everything looked at carefully to see what's going on. So your personality will change.
You said what we wish we would have been? Mm-hmm. I don't think that I expected that it would give me such a secure foundation to climb economically in my career. I kind of just assumed, I was always interested in public interest law, so working for like a government. I kind of always assumed like I would just, be making like government money, right? I never wanted to work at a big firm. I never wanted to make, bill all those hours to make the big paycheck. But every single job that I've had, every single career transition that I've had, I've exponentially grown in my income. And for me, coming from the family that I came from, having the opportunity to start building generational wealth for my family was really important, and it is not an expectation that I had, and I kind of wish I had known that, because maybe I would have made some different decisions, but nonetheless, like, it has opened doors of opportunity for me that I otherwise would not have had.
And if there's students here who are interested in pursuing a career in the legal field, what advice would you give them?
Definitely focus on your reading and writing. Going to law school is reading all the time. It's very different from probably almost any other graduate program. Basically, you just read the whole time, and you take a test and you write. You like just vomit all of your information at the end of the semester. So reading and writing is really, really important to develop those skills. And you don't have to be amazing at it. You just have to work hard on it.
So I'll say that you can have any path you want to be a lawyer. So I'll echo the judge's comments on that. So when you go to college, do something you love. Like, don't think you have to do political science or anything. Take a subject that you love that will grow your mind and make you fall in love with learning. And then it's really just hard work. That's all it is. If you grind out and just work hard, you'll be a lawyer, right? And you'll be a super successful lawyer too, because hard work is what gets you to the next level. So that's my only advice, is just grind it out, hard work, and you can do it.
Yeah, I'll kind of echo what Blake said, but also reading is really important. You're going to read a lot in law school. But yeah, find something in college that you like and that you're going to do well. You know, there's plenty of attorneys that have a science background, and they go into patent law, they go into specific law that background is actually very beneficial. And you don't think of, I mean, there's a running joke that lawyers don't know math. We went to law school so we wouldn't have to do math. But there are lawyers who were math majors and decided, hey, I'm gonna go do tax law, right? And you would use that math for that, or business, and then go into business law. And just because you went to undergrad for one thing doesn't mean you have to focus on that in law school. I had a classmate in law school whose undergrad major was music. He really liked playing the violin, and he went to get a music degree. And then what do you do with a music degree? You become a music teacher, or he decided to go to law school, and he did really well for himself in law school. So do something that you like. I mean, the undergrad degree is really just a bridge to get you to law school. And do something that you enjoy so you can focus in your time in law school doing the reading and the writing and the research and that other stuff that's going to help you build your career.
Yeah, and I think that undergrad degree, it really is not important in what it's in as far as getting into law school. When you're applying to law school and pursuing your legal career, admissions staff are looking for people with diverse backgrounds who are going to have different perspectives on the law. I recall in my law school class, we had everything from people who were prior surgeons, people who were coming into a second career, English majors, art majors, music majors. There's no one direct path. Or if you decide to take a certain path, that automatically disqualifies you from pursuing this career. The other thing is extracurricular activities. I don't think that was enough emphasis was put on that when I was entering law school, but things like mock trial and law review, I think give students such an advantage over their peers right at the start of their career. And Lillian, could you walk us through the education and license requirements of being an attorney?
Sure. So obviously everybody here is in high school, so that's the first step, right? You get your high school degree. You go to college, and it doesn't matter if you go to a community college first, but eventually you go get a bachelor's degree, and it could be a Bachelor of Arts or a Bachelor of Science, or as long as it's a bachelor's degree, you apply to law school. There's a test that you take to get into law school called the LSAT, which is kind of like the SATs, but it's really to see how well your brain thinks outside of the box. It's more logic and thinking than it is actually reading in writing like the SAT is. And so then you go to law school, and after law school you get to take another test called the bar, which tests what you've learned in law school.
One last step in that, don't be stupid and get a criminal record. You can get through law school with a criminal record, but as far as being admitted to the Bar Association, each state has their own admission requirements, and there's requirements, are there separate requirements for the federal bench too? Okay. But if you end up with a felony, if you're around somebody that commits a crime and you end up with a felony on that, that makes it a whole heck of a lot tougher to make that step on there. So keep in mind that's, you know, one dumb mistake when you're young can really foul up a potential law degree, or law career, excuse me.
Do you think more diversity is needed in the law? Why or why not?
Yeah, absolutely. People see things differently from different perspectives based on how you were raised, what your family life is like. There needs to be more people in the law who have a varied life history and background. You represent people better when you understand where they come from. And I will say, as a black female attorney, like, I hardly ever see other black female attorneys doing what I'm doing. And more so in Kansas City. It's great being in Kansas City. There's a lot more diversity here. But across the state, there are very few minorities of any background. I'm talking Black, Asian, Hispanic, Latinx. And so that, for one, means there's a lot more opportunity for us because we're in high demand, because people want people that look like them representing them. And there are not a lot of attorneys that can fill that need right now. So for me, I think it's really important to be involved and to pursue careers where there's a lot of opportunity for us to make a big change. And so that's why I think diversity is really important.
This has come from a white old man. For the 21 years I was a circuit judge, I got so sick of going to judge meetings in Missouri State Judge and sitting around a bunch of white old men. Life experiences are important, particularly as far as judges and understanding where people are coming from, how they live their lives. We are in desperate need to have more people, more females, more people of color involved both in the practice law and in the judiciary. The more diverse body we have to pick from, it's easier for you to hire a lawyer that'll understand where you're coming from. But if you have people on the bench that have a diverse background, it just makes for a fairer system. And it's not just sitting in court. The fact I'm a white old man doesn't mean I don't have compassion. But as a white old man, if I sit down and talk to a young black woman, I'm going to learn stuff. And if that young black woman isn't there at the bar meetings, she's not there for me to talk to. It's exchanging information and ideas and background is incredibly important.
I agree with all of that. I also think it's really important to have people who speak different languages. I mean, Spanish is really big all around the United States, but also other languages. There's, I think, 2 attorneys that I know that are Vietnamese that practice in front of us a lot. And, you know, there are a lot of immigrants who don't speak English, and they need someone that they can trust that can also communicate with them, that can communicate to the court. And there's not much diversity. There's not many people who speak other languages and who can get those clients that need that representation.
So the law affects absolutely everything. I mean, think about your day-to-day life. The law controls so much of how you live, where you live, what you do. And so if you want to be involved in change, if you want to better your community, you want to have a voice, that has to be your voice, right? You don't want my voice, you don't want anyone else's, you want someone from your community, someone that understands you, understands the community. So yeah, absolutely, we need more diversity because we need to represent every community and understand that all Americans deserve representation, and they deserve representation from someone who understands their life.
Thank you, guys. That wraps up most of the questions we had for our panel. Are there any questions from the students here that maybe we didn't answer, that you have about a career in the law that you'd like to ask now?
Take that.
Okay. That's it for us then.